I'm a huge Bruno Sammartino fan. One of the things I like most about him is that, I feel like the stereotype for that generation is after you have a great match, you go out and a party. Whereas for Bruno Sammartino, his idea of a party was to eat an entire chicken from the grocery store and a drink of milk and call his parents. So I love that about a Bruno Sammartino. I also love how he shot on a Buddy Rogers. That's not something I can relate to on being either side of, but I think it's pretty amazing nonetheless.
As long as you've got it, that's the important thing.
Never got to meet him. Another great Italian wrestler I wish I could have met. Second generation English, third generation English wrestler, Marco Rollerball Rocco, who his great grandfather, I think, or his grandfather was Italian, father was Italian and English, and he of course was a great British cruiserweight in the 70s and 80s. Also one of the greatest mustaches in a pro wrestling.
I think you've somehow got hold of my notes, Luigi, because you have moved on to my next question, which is, I've heard you mention Mark Rollerball Rocco in other interviews, and that is, to me, a really niche wrestling pool. That is someone that not everyone would know the name of, and it's a testament to your wrestling knowledge that your thought process goes to, I love Mark Rollerball Rocco. It's 1 a.m. here, so my voice all over the place. Mark Rollerball Rocco. No, it's worth it. It's worth it for the king of pizza. But with River City Wrestling, you got to open for Fozzy, Chris Jericho's band in San Antonio. Is that correct? That
That's
went
right,
through?
yes.
What do you remember about that experience?
It was the Fozzy was on a tour, so they kind of had their thing they were doing. Chris Jericho was doing autographs while we did our little show. So it was a pretty chill endeavor. I didn't get a chance to stick around or meet him or anything, but it was definitely a fun to be a part of that the production and the experience of being on that gig.
Is wrestling opening for a musical act strange to you? Or does it fit well with what they've got going on with Chris Jericho being the lead?
I think it was a good fit for that, and I think in a general, it's always doesn't work as good as people think it's going to work.
Right.
Because they're like, music, that's a cool, right? And a wrestling, that's a cool, so they should go together. But for some reason, everybody's confused. I guess it's the same way with a stand-up comedy opening for bands. What's the rule? It's like comedy before music, it's okay, but after, it's a bad day. I think that's the rhyme. I don't remember, but
that must be an old country saying, because I don't know.
That's an old country of promoters saying about a booking a stand-up comedy and music. But I think maybe if you do it like in some kind of a creative way, like maybe if some of the bands are wrestlers and they play in the ring and then you attack them with their instruments, that I think is what I would have liked to see. But obviously, I mean, Chris Jericho, it's pretty cool that he is a masterful wrestler and also has become such a high level touring a performer, because his style is a very, he's not like a classically trained musician, but like doing that kind of a schedule and like rocking it out, that takes a lot of ability and a lot of endurance in its own right. So it's always a cool, even as someone seeing a band like a Insane Clown Posse or something, that's not a really like music that I care for clearly, but the fact that they've have multiple disciplines that they've excelled in a one manner or another, I do think that's a cool. Or Jimmy Hart will always be my ultimate example of this, somebody who was I think like a radio DJ, music promoter, and also wrestling promoter, wrestling manager, performer, the whole spectrum, 5'9" a guy, 130 pounds, master of the entertainment arts. I always respect the performers like that.
People that have got such diversity that they can do music and they can do wrestling and they can do everything.
Right, yeah. Especially, someone like a Jimmy Hart, who's just it's all based on his internal presence and his intelligence and the force of his personality, because he's I'm probably bigger than a Jimmy Hart, but not by much. But for him, it's like all about his charisma. That's what defeats his enemies in a way.
The mouth of the South. He's going to give that energy every time. That's a good pick. someone that I think is a good mixture of everything we've talked about so far. He's Canadian like Chris Jericho. He claims to be Scottish. He's a bit of a polymath because he was in movies. I want you to talk to me, talk to the people at home, talk to me about your memories of Roddy Piper.
Yeah, did you hear on an interview that I met him?
No, I've missed that interview.
Yeah,
I've heard all the ones where you say you were terrified of him as a child, but I've not heard you say you met him.
That's the craziest thing. I met him 2 weeks before he had died at an airport in LAX. And I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, do you know who that is? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, that's Roddy Piper. He's pretty important. And she's like, you got to go talk to him. And I was like, oh, it's in the airport at like 5 a.m. I was like, yeah, I got to go. So I went up. He was buying a Red Bull at the kiosk, and I was like, hey, you probably get this a lot. You know, just a huge fan, giant fan. And he just gets this a huge, warm smile on his face. Like he's like, he's seen this before. And he likes it. He's about it. And he's like, oh, what's your first name? That was the question he asked me. And then I was like, so what are you doing? And he's like, I've been keeping pretty busy. And I was like, I've been really enjoying the podcast. And he's like, thanks a lot. And just did full on eye contact, smile. And I was like, yeah, it was a great meeting you. I just shook his hand and I left. And that was that. And it's crazy because, as you said, when I was younger, I always have felt somebody needs to stop at this man. His faces are turning red, and he's cutting these promos, and he's insulting a Hulk Hogan. Someone needs to stop him. And Hulk Hogan was always the one who was like, oh, thank God he's here to save the day. And I've never met a Hulk Hogan, but it's interesting. As I get older, I meet a Roddy Piper, and I have that feeling of a warmth from him, and I realized just the lifelong gift that he gave me in that character, and it's pretty cool.
That's lovely. That's a lovely story. Did you ask for a photo with him? Because I feel like professional wrestlers complain a lot that they get cameras shoved in their face, and a lot of people who are in the public eye say that they'd much rather just have a conversation. And it sounds like you've just had a wonderful experience and story. You don't need a photographic evidence for that.
Yeah, I felt it that way. I almost didn't want to talk to him because I'm sure it was probably worse in the past, but I imagine, people come up to him a lot. And again, it's at the airport, which isn't necessarily the most comfortable place to be. So I didn't want to. So yeah, I just wanted to make it easy for him, but I didn't want to pass it by because it's like, it's a Roddy Piper. It's this a legend. So I didn't want to miss it. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had the chance to talk to him. Didn't need to, have a photo selfie like, oh, I can't believe it.
Someone else you mentioned, another fantastic mustachioed gentleman is Rick Rude. I want to ask, in the same way that when Scott Hall passed away, I saw a wrestling content creator, I believe it was Queen of the Ring, was saying that when she was a kid, she told her parents, that Razor Ramon isn't Cuban. And her parents, who are from that part of the world, said, doesn't matter, he's one of us. I like to think, based on your love of Rick Rude, his fantastic mustache and general appearance, is he an honorary Italian in your mind? Is Rick Rude an honorary Italian?
I've thought about this a lot. And I would say that Rick Rude is an honorary Italian. He gets the award due to his mustache and his revolting body movements in the ring. There's another person as a child where I was just like, make him stop. But it was different than Roddy Piper. Now I know that, of course, both of them could have destroyed me with mere fingers. But at that time, I didn't realize that. I just thought, like, this gross man, this should not be allowed. Somebody should have probably stopped him soon. It was a different kind of anger that I had towards him. But again, as I got older, I just, you learn about what kind of a person it takes to develop that character and to do it night after night after night. And you begin to really, really respect and love what they have put into that, even though it's a vile way to perform.
Of course. One last famous wrestler, because I don't want to make my interview with you about other people. But one person I have to ask you about, because he's only come up in one of your interviews. And I find that fascinating, because I want to know what it is about this man you like. You were asked, who is your dream opponent, alive or dead? And your answer was Sir William Regal. What is it about William Regal that you like or want to compete against? Because you've mentioned him once and I've never heard you say it again, and I really want to know.
Man, William Regal, I think is, I think I've always liked him and his style, but the more I watch his matches and I listen to him, I think he's a top 5 or at least top 10 just of all time. He's just so fluent in every aspect of a wrestling. But the thing that I would really love to get the opportunity to do is to go. I really enjoy a technical wrestling. So to be able to see, to have him put me in the different holds and to see if I could get out of them, and to have that kind of match, and just to see how long I could go with that and what kind of a thing we could do, that would be incredible, because he has this direct lineage to that older style, to an extent. A Colt Cabana does it as well, but a William Regal, he was there in the Blackpool of Pleasure Beaches or whatever it was.
The history of British wrestling and the thing that Colt Cabana and Brian Danielson did is holiday parks here in the UK. So lots of caravans set up that people would go and stay at, like mobile homes. And in the middle of the event, in the middle of the summer, they would invite people down to come and watch wrestling. They'd invite wrestlers. And I had a friend, I used to have a flatmate, and when he was a kid, he would go to the shows that were held on the border of Scotland and England. And he got very upset because when he would go to shows just over the border in England, the Scottish guys would be getting booed and the English guys were getting cheered, and the English guys were the heroes. And then he'd go 5 miles north into Scotland and it would all flip. And the Scottish guys were the heroes and they were getting cheered and the English guys were getting booed. And that's the sort of lineage that World of Sport and things like that, and the brutal training that people used to seek out in the 2000s, that's where it comes from, is that environment, that world.
That's a pretty cool. But yeah, William Regal, he knows all of that stuff, and he really kind of put it into his own sort of a unique style of combining that sort of an old school BBC, a Faulty Tower sort of a characterization of the blustering aristocrat, and just also his strikes are so crazy. His uppercuts just so stiff. Just awesome. I'd love to see what a kind of match I could have with him. That would be probably not going to happen, but if I could just have the choice of anyone, it would definitely be him.